Tonight, the breaking news: that deadly shooting. School children on their second day of school saying their morning prayers in church. The alarming images right here tonight. 2 children shot and killed, several other children among those shot and rushed to the hospital. Authorities say the shooter firing through stained glass windows right into the pews moments after the children began praying during Mass in Minneapolis. Tonight, you will hear from a 10-year-old boy describing how his friend jumped on top of him and saved him. But that friend was then shot and rushed to the hospital. And this evening, what we're now learning about the suspect, the disturbing new details just as we come on tonight. Also breaking at this hour, the sudden shakeup now at the CDC. We have just learned the new director on the job for just weeks, tonight ousted. What's behind her removal? And the other major headline involves the COVID vaccine for this fall, the small group it's now recommended for. And will some Americans who still want the COVID shot be covered by insurance? The Labor Day weather and travel forecast tonight: storms for millions and the fall-like weather across much of the nation. So Lee Goldberg is here with the Labor Day forecast. Tonight, the federal takeover of police in the nation's capital. A grand jury deciding not to indict that protester who threw a sandwich at a federal agent. Meantime, the mayor of D.C. acknowledging tonight that carjackings are down significantly, with the National Guard now on patrol. And tonight, is the president now planning to take over Union Station? Tonight, the highly controversial new immigration detention center in Florida known as Alligator Alcatraz. ABC News obtaining an email from a state official suggesting it could be empty in days. Open for just weeks. How much did this cost American taxpayers? Tonight, the pilot who went down off the East Coast, the dramatic rescue. The NFL star and the high-speed chain reaction crash. Tonight, hear the punishment. Princess Diana and the time capsule sealed by her 34 years ago. Tonight, that capsule has been opened, and what's inside? And this evening, 24 hours after Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce announced their engagement, we hear from Travis Kelce's father, his big piece of advice tonight, and Taylor Swift's soon-to-be father-in-law on what he makes of one of the most famous engagements in the world.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and we begin tonight here with the horror that played out this morning for young school children at a Catholic school in Minneapolis, just as they were saying their morning prayers in church. Authorities say a heavily armed suspect targeting the students, firing from outside right through the stained glass windows, striking children in the pews where they sat. 2 children were shot and killed. Several other children were among those who were shot and then rushed to the hospital. The shooter then taking their own life. Police officers responding to Annunciation Catholic Church arriving to find a mass casualty event, a line of ambulances right down the street. The shooter reportedly armed with a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol, and officials say the suspect used them all. Frightened parents rushing to the school looking for their children, emotional scenes playing out after many of the parents were reunited, holding them tight as they walked away, the shock and the fear in the faces of the children. Tonight, the nation mourning the violent attack, President Trump ordering flags to fly at half-staff. This evening, you will hear from a 10-year-old boy in one of those pews describing how his friend jumped on top of him and saved him. But that friend was then shot and rushed to the hospital. ABC's Alex Perez leading us off. He's at the scene in Minneapolis.
Tonight, a community in anguish. Families consoling one another after a mass shooter killed 2 children and shot many more as they prayed in church.
127 possible shooting of an active shooter at Annunciation Church, 509 West 54th Street.
It was just before 8:30 this morning, 15 minutes into Catholic Mass, before the start of the second day of school for the young students of the Annunciation School in Minneapolis.
During the Mass, a gunman approached on the outside, on the side of the building, and began firing a rifle through the church windows towards the children sitting in the pews at the Mass.
Dozens of rounds fired from outside the church, shattering the stained glass windows. Students ranging in age from pre-K to 8th grade inside. Police say the suspect used a 2x4 to try and barricade the doors to the church from the outside. Pat Scallon lives nearby and rushed to the scene, comforting some of the injured students before authorities arrived.
And the one girl, it was really something. She said, "Just hold my hand, please." And I did. There was a girl that had a very obvious head injury. And then there was another girl that told me she was shot in the throat. I knew going up there I wasn't going to see something pretty.
Students in their green uniforms are reuniting with parents. 5th grader Clarissa Garcia.
So I was just at church, and I heard something like really loud, like I thought it was fireworks in the church, and then I saw the shooting, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared.
Yeah, I was like 2 seats away from the stained glass windows, so they were like, the shots were like right next to me. I think I got like gunpowder on my neck.
10-year-old Weston calmly telling reporters how he hid in the pews, his friend diving on top of him, likely saving him. That friend was then shot.
My friend got hit in the back.
Did he go to the hospital?
Yeah, he went to the hospital.
What went through your mind when you saw that?
I was super scared for him. My mom was waiting outside of the church when it happened. I was super happy because, like, I was scared that I wasn't gonna see her because I didn't know what was happening, really. I was just in shock.
As the noon church bells rang out, the police chief breaking the tragic news.
2 young children, ages 8 and 10, were killed where they sat in the pews.
Yusuf Davis's nephew, Andre Gunter, one of at least 19 others injured.
He was shot in the stomach. It entered accident. He had surgery. They opened him up. He's gonna make it. He's a survivor. He's gonna make it.
The coward that shot these victims took his own life in the rear of the church. That coward has been identified as 23-year-old Robin Westman. No prior criminal history.
We lost 2 angels today. There's nothing about today that can fill us with hope.
Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey angry and emotional, rejecting offers of the usual thoughts and prayers.
And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance.
And David, the FBI is now investigating this as an act of domestic terrorism targeting Catholics. This is a tight-knit community. They're heartbroken, angry, and they want some answers. David?
Well, the whole nation wants answers on this, and the news was just horrible when we all heard it come in this morning. Alex, thank you. Tonight we're also learning disturbing new details about the shooter, what the suspect appears to have posted online, video that was set to be released, actually timed to show up after the horror unfolded at that church. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, investigators searching multiple residents linked to 23-year-old suspect Robin Westman, including the family home less than a mile from the church.
There was a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. All 3 had been lawfully purchased by the shooter.
And police are studying a troubling video Westman allegedly posted on YouTube, timed for release after the horror would have unfolded inside that church.
This manifesto appeared to show him at the scene and included some disturbing writings.
The video depicts someone obsessed with violence. In one chilling moment, a suspect is seen driving a knife into a sketch of church pews. You also see a suspect handling bullets, magazines, and an arsenal of guns. And there are numerous references to previous mass shooters, including Sandy Hook. The fixation on murder clear. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem saying the words, "Kill Donald Trump," were found written on a rifle magazine. Tonight, the community in shock.
I'm sorry, I'm shaking. I can't stop. And considering like the shooter's a half a block from where we all live.
That neighbor now trying to make sense of what the killer's family might be thinking tonight.
I can't imagine not only living with what their son has done, but also that their son is deceased. I'm sure they're questioning as parents what happened here.
We're also learning that Robin Westman was born a male with the name Robert, but in 2020 identified as a female, and a Minnesota court approved his name change to Robin. David?
Pierre Thomas live in Washington tonight. Pierre, thank you. The other breaking headline as we're on the air tonight, just in from the CDC, the sudden shakeup. The new director on the job for just weeks, tonight ousted. So what's behind her removal? And another major development involves the COVID vaccine this fall, the small group it's now recommended for. And the question tonight, will some Americans who still want the COVID shot still be covered by insurance? So let's get right to ABC's Rachel Scott with us here tonight on the breaking news. This new CDC director on the job for just weeks, already out tonight. What have you learned, Rachel?
Yes, David. Sources are telling us that CDC Director Susan Monarez has been ousted from her position just weeks into the job. The Department of Health and Human Services, led by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., posting, Susan Monarez is no longer director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. We thank her for her dedicated service. Monarez, a staunch supporter of vaccines, and her ouster comes as Kennedy, a vaccine skeptic, moves to reshape the government's approach. Today, the FDA also narrowing the scope of people approved for the COVID vaccine this fall to those over 65 and younger adults and children with underlying medical conditions. So this does now raise questions about whether the vaccine would be covered for people who do not fall into those two categories, David.
And unclear if these two things are even linked in this announcement that the CDC director has been ousted, but big questions about her philosophy on vaccines versus RFK Jr.
And the FDA is still moving forward with those changes, David.
All right, Rachel Scott with us on the breaking headline. Rachel, thank you. We turn next this evening to the Labor Day forecast and the travel outlook, what's expected to be the busiest Labor Day travel in 15 years. Millions on the road and in the air, more than 17 million travelers expected to pass through the TSA. There are storms on tap for millions, and the fall-like weather across much of this nation will stick around. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg of our New York station, WABC, tracking it all. Lee, the Labor Day holiday almost here. How does it look?
Well, the trend is really our friend, David, headed into the weekend. The weather map's getting quieter, an absence of extreme heat. In fact, below normal temperatures, Chicago to New York, mid and upper 70s. We'll have some showers left over in the Adirondacks and northern New England, Gulf Coast and the northern plains, but we are starting to dry out. Now, that's coming from the monsoon moisture. Now, there's still some flood watches from the Sierra Nevada all the way into Montana. We had some severe storms near Reno, some flood warnings in Utah and Colorado. That will quiet down over the next couple of days, but moisture moves into the plains. We are very concerned about the flood threat tonight into tomorrow. Wichita all the way to Little Rock amounts up to 6 inches of rain. That rain moves into the Gulf Coast by Friday. David?
Lee Goldberg back with us tonight. Lee, thanks so much. We turn next tonight here to the federal takeover of the police in the nation's capital. And this evening, a grand jury has decided not to indict that protester who threw a sandwich at a federal agent. Meantime, the mayor of Washington, D.C. tonight now acknowledging that carjackings are down significantly, with the National Guard now on patrol. And is President Trump now planning to take over Union Station? Here's Jay O'Brien tonight.
Tonight, a Washington, D.C. grand jury refusing to indict the man who set off a viral firestorm. The FBI director posting this video of the man hurling a Subway sandwich at a Customs and Border Patrol agent patrolling during the president's law enforcement surge.
We charged him with a felony, assault on a police officer.
But the grand jury didn't buy it, refusing to bring charges. It comes as the Trump administration expands its takeover of the nation's capital, putting the Department of Transportation in control of the city's iconic Union Station.
The city will tell you they have this under control, crime around Union Station.
But they don't.
This is an overreach.
But they do not. They do not have it under control.
As we walked around outside Union Station, we saw some of the more than 2,000 National Guard troops sent to D.C. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser says the surge has left residents, quote, living in fear. But she also acknowledges crime has fallen in the city. Carjackings now down 87%.
We know that when carjackings go down, when the use of gun goes down, when homicide or robbery go down, neighborhoods feel safer and are safer. So this surge has been important to us.
The mayor making it clear there, David, crime has gone down since Trump's takeover, but she says that this surge of federal law enforcement, immigration, and National Guard comes at a cost. Trust in some communities. David?
Jay O'Brien live in Washington, D.C. Jay, thanks. Next tonight, the major headline involving that highly controversial new immigration detention center in Florida, known as Alligator Alcatraz. ABC News obtaining an email from a state official now suggesting it could be empty in just days. It was open for just weeks, so how much did this cost American taxpayers? Victor Kendo from Florida tonight.
Tonight, Florida's controversial immigration detention center, dubbed Alligator Alcatraz, may be empty within days. Just 2 months after it opened at an estimated $400 million cost to American taxpayers. ABC News obtaining an email from the head of the state's Division of Emergency Management, Kevin Guthrie, saying in part, "We are probably going to be down to 0 individuals within a few days."
I call it Alligator Alcatraz.
The detention center, located in the heart of the Florida Everglades, was rapidly built, capable of holding up to 3,000 detainees. President Trump and DHS touring the facility.
I mean, you don't always have land so beautiful and so secure. We have a lot of bodyguards and a lot of cops that are in the form of alligators.
The facility drawing public backlash over its location and living conditions, becoming the subject of multiple lawsuits. Last week, a federal judge in Miami ordered the detention center to wind down operations, state officials appealing the decision. Today, Governor Ron DeSantis stating the numbers are lower due to DHS deportations.
The deportations are continuing. DHS is taking people out of there, and they're moving them out.
David, that email from the head of Florida's Division of Emergency Management was sent to interfaith leaders who were looking to hold religious services at the facility. David?
Victor Kendo in Florida. You'll stay on this, Victor. Thanks. When we come back tonight, the plane crashing right off the East Coast into the Atlantic. Tonight, the dramatic images right here. The pilot who went down and then the daring rescue that followed. You'll see this play out in a moment. Also, this image tonight of Princess Diana and the time capsule sealed by her some 34 years ago. Tonight, that time capsule has now been opened. And what's inside in a moment here. Tonight, new images showing the dramatic rescue of a pilot moments after crashing a small plane off the coast of North Carolina. The pilot landing upside down in the waters off Oak Island. Rescuers from the beach safety unit immediately on the scene, pulling him out through the windshield. Once they got to that plane, the rescue taking less than 30 seconds. That pilot is okay tonight. The husband and father who faked his own death, authorities say making it look like he died while kayaking, has now been sentenced to 89 days in jail in Green Lake County, Wisconsin. Ryan Borgward was later found living in Eastern Europe with a woman he met online. The 89-day sentence is equal to the number of days authorities spent searching for him in Wisconsin. When we come back here tonight, the NFL star and the high-speed chain reaction crash tonight. News coming in on his punishment. And Princess Diana, the time capsule she sealed 34 years ago. It's been opened tonight. To the Index, Kansas City Chiefs star Rashee Rice has been suspended for 6 games for his conviction in a high-speed crash in Dallas. A judge sentencing him to 30 days in jail. Authorities say he was racing nearly 120 miles per hour moments before crashing on Highway 75, triggering that 6-car collision. Tonight, Princess Diana and the time capsule she sealed 34 years ago. It's now been opened in London. Diana placing the capsule inside a wall at the Great Ormond Street Hospital for Children in 1991. Inside the capsule, a copy of the Times newspaper with headlines about the Gulf War, a pocket-sized portable TV, and a Kylie Minogue CD. That capsule, by the way, opened early because of construction. When we come back here tonight, Travis Kelce's father, Ed, right here. His advice on this big engagement and what he says about Taylor Swift and the big wait. He says they were all waiting.
ABC World News Tonight with David Muir, sponsored by Progressive.
Finally tonight here, Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, and a little engagement advice. Perhaps father knows best. Tonight, just 24 hours after Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce announced their engagement, Ed Kelce, Travis Kelce's father, and Taylor Swift's soon-to-be father-in-law sharing an inside look tonight on how the surprise was pulled off, saying it actually played out in Travis Kelce's backyard in Lee's Summit, Missouri.
First got to dinner, he said, let's go out and have a glass of wine. And she got out there, and they got out there, and that's when he asked her, and it was beautiful.
Telling the ABC station in Cleveland, WEWS, where Travis Kelce grew up, that the newly engaged couple immediately started FaceTiming the whole family afterward.
FaceTiming me and their mother and her folks to make sure everybody knew. So it's to see them together is great.
The whole family kept this secret. Ed Kelce saying he gave his son a little piece of advice, revealing that he and Taylor Swift's father, Scott Swift, were both wondering when Travis was going to pop the question. And he says, so was Taylor.
I think she was getting maybe a little antsy, but he was going to make it a big special event. And I told him repeatedly, you could do it on the side of the road, do it any place. That makes it a special event when you get down on one knee and ask her to marry you. And it helped that Scott Swift was telling him the same thing.
That proud father revealing the engagement actually happened 2 weeks ago and that the families were quietly wondering when they would make the big announcement.
Kind of funny, about a week ago, I asked Travis, I said, so when are you going to announce the engagement? He said, whenever Taylor says so.
Tonight here, what do the Swifts and the Kelces make of one of the most famous engagements in the world?
I think we're as prepared as you can be for something like this. I kind of look at it the same way that I'm sure the Swifts do. This is still the little kid they raised at home, okay? Yes, they've both had a lot of success in their endeavors, but they're still the same people that we raised. And it makes you feel good to see a couple this much a month.
Yeah, great advice. We wish Taylor and Travis the best, both families too, the Swifts and the Kelces. I'm David Muir. Good night.
David Muir, the most watched newscast in America. And now, ABC's World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the third year in a row.